So Fox Business did a segment on healthcare with the CEO of Aetna, and they're going to ask him his opinion on stuff, which is absolutely mental. Let's take a look, and you'll see how Fox Business effectively functions as corporate America's propaganda arm.
Senate Health Committee Chairman Lamar Alexander says he plans to release a draft tomorrow of, quote, bipartisan packages of bills that would, he says, lower health care costs and fix the problem of high pharmaceutical drug prices. And we know that plus women's health issues have emerged as a hot button topic as healthcare pretty much shapes up to be a huge point of focus in the 2020 presidential election. A lot of you care about that. So I'm glad you're watching right now, because my next guest is the former chairman and CEO of one of the world's largest healthcare insurance companies, Aetna. As one of the few African Americans to ever lead a Fortune 500 company, he's just authored this book, Learning to Lead, Leading Yourself, Leading Others, and Leading an Organization. Ron Williams is here exclusively. Good to see you, Ron.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So Lamar Alexander has been working with the Senate Health Care Committee's ranking Democrat, Patty Murray of the state of Washington, and he says they together have come up with this plan. Now, their first effort failed last year. What does this one, from your perspective, have to solve the problem that so many Americans are facing right now?
Well, I think the first thing that it has, which I think is absolutely wonderful, is bipartisanship. Is both sides of the aisle coming together to address a problem that's important to Americans. I think it's fair to say that we do need a solution to these surprise emergency out-of-network bills. And consumers have a right to expect that if they're following the rules of their health plan, that there should not be surprises.
Right. And that is sort of one of the three legs of this very important stool. Lamar Alexander saying protecting patients from getting massive medical bills that they didn't expect simply because there was an emergency and they had to go. But to somebody out of network. But that brings me to what we're seeing on the screen right now. The insurers, since Obamacare. Now, we know before Obamacare, they were doing very well. Since Obamacare, they've done well. Obamacare under attack, they have still done well. What role must the insurer shoulder? I'm pushing you a little bit here because my viewers know my dad was a surgeon and he railed against you guys. And he said, you'll notice doctors lose, hospitals lose, the pharmas lose. Insurers always come out on top no matter what.
Well, I think it's a fair question. And I think that insurers play a fundamental role in helping structure networks. And in today's world, they're providing data and information to both consumers and to physicians. I think that the leading health plans are entering into long-term partnerships with physicians and physician groups to focus on creating more value and affordability. And so I think there clearly is an opportunity for health plans to do better and for all aspects of the system to do better. The underlying rate of increase in healthcare costs is at least 2 times the CPI. Long term, that is not sustainable.
It is not.
And it's not affordable for the average family. So what we have to have are solutions that look at healthcare as a system, not just insurance, not pharma, not physicians, but a system that works for everyone.
I want folks to know who they're listening to right now. You are the son of a bus driver for Chicago Transit. Your mom was a manicurist at a local beauty salon. You are the first in your family to graduate from college, and yet you rose to the CEO position and chairman of this massive company, Fortune 500. This book, you talk about leading, and we can put up some of the tenets. You say, soak up learning with no specific goal in mind. Read everything, right? You also say change people's perceptions of what is possible. How do you do that?
Well, it's extremely important to help people understand what they believe about what's doable. And often when you have a conversation, not an accusation, but a conversation and say, help me understand why you believe that's not doable, you're often able to get to the underlying assumptions and help people work their way through those. And that's what we did at Aetna.
In the middle, there was one good question. Then he was able to give word salad and basically not answer it. And then they immediately go into doing propaganda for him. I want the audience to know who we're talking to. You're the son of a school bus driver. But you made it, good sir. Please explain how you made it. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? You're talking about the issue of healthcare and health insurance. Okay. He said nothing in his answer. The question was, how do health insurers always end up on top no matter what? And he's like, I think that's a good question. And my answer is, what we need to look at is the systems of systematic institutions. What? Well, we need to look at solutions that look at networks. And in networks and out of networks, there are networks and systems. What the fuck are you saying, dog? But notice, see, this is how they do their propaganda, and CNBC does the same thing. Fox Business and CNBC do this all day long. What they do is they have these discussions about serious issues, but they bring on the exact people who are spearheading the problem. So, back during the, right before the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession, they had on like, hey, let's invite on the CEO of Bear Stearns, which fucking collapsed and went under. Let's have on the CEOs of all the big banks. And we'll talk about, hey, there appears to be a downturn in the market right now, but maybe it's just a slight correction. Do you think everything will bounce back? You're asking the person who's obviously got every reason in the world to not give you an objective answer and to cover their own fucking asses. That's what they do. Let's invite on CEOs so that they can go ahead and do their propaganda. That's literally what they do here. This guy's a former Aetna CEO. It's like, okay, just to put this in perspective for everybody, to explain how ridiculous this is. Imagine having a conversation about policing the mafia, and you invite on a mafia boss. Why would you expect anything that the mafia boss says to be like, hey, here's how you really should come after us? They're not going to do that. They're going to try to cover their own asses. And that's what this guy's doing. The problem is for-profit health insurance companies running the show. Full stop. So you don't invite the problem to try to explain the solution. Oh, it's so frustrating, man. It's so frustrating. Imagine talking to an Aetna CEO and not having anything prepared about the, no doubt, thousands of cases of, them rejecting coverage for something and then the person going bankrupt. Them rejecting care for something and somebody dies. Like, there are countless examples. We've covered so many examples on this show. I don't know if it was specifically Aetna or if it was Humana or if it was any of the other corporations, the for-profit health insurance companies, but they exist, man. They exist. So it's just embarrassing how the media is supposed to be a watchdog of power, but here what they do is they coddle power. That's what this is. They suck up to power. Sir, in your book, you talk about how wonderful you are and how people can improve themselves. How can they improve themselves? Ugh. But this is why you guys come here, and this is why you come to new media to get information, because at least we're not that.